Jozalyn Sharp. I'm from Fallon, Nevada, and I've been doing comedy for 4 years.
All right, this next one coming to the stage, she's a hometown hero. She's also a killer. Make a whole lot of noise, everybody. Come on, get your hands together. Let's start clapping for Jozalyn Sharp. Come on now.
It's my birth name. No, I kind of, part of doing comedy for me is about really owning who I am, so I never really wanted to go with the stage name. Plus, my name's kind of unique on its own, so I never felt any need to unify it or make it more unique than it already is.
Hello, life is beautiful. What the is up?
My goals for comedy is to make it my job. So as hard as I can work, as much as I can do, to get to a point where comedy is what pays the bills for me, because that's really what I want to do, is just really be doing comedy all the time. Nothing makes me happier.
So VIP bathrooms, porta potties, it doesn't matter. I feel like every time I get into one of those bathrooms, the water in the toilet shakes, like when the T-Rex from Jurassic Park is approaching.
I work full-time. I'm an assistant store manager at a retail store. I always wanted to do comedy. I remember when I was 12. So I do comedy it started from a love of comedy. So when I was 12, I remember seeing a Comedy Central Presents, and it was Stephen Lynch, and I loved his Comedy Central Presents so much. Anytime there was a Comedy Central Presents on TV, I would sit and wait. This was back before there was like a guide or anything. So I'd sit and wait to see who it was. And then doing that, I was introduced to all these comics over and over again. And I saved up my allowance, and I begged my mom for HBO because I just wanted to watch as much comedy as possible. If I could find it on the internet, if I could order a CD. I used to go to CD stores back when they were a thing and buy up all the comedy albums. I'm from a place outside of Reno, and there's a album store there. You can get used CDs for like $5 for $10. So I'd get 5 comedy albums, and I would just take in as much as I could. I loved it. I loved laughing. And then I just kind of evolved. I was a stage actor for most of my life. I did musicals. I was in a traveling troupe for a while, and I loved it, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then I used to be that girl at parties. My best friend actually made me realize that this is what I wanted to do one day, because at parties, people would always surround me and they'd say, "Tell us a story, Jozalyn, tell us a story." They always wanted me to tell stories, and they would laugh, and everybody would have a good time. And one day I was in the middle of a story, and my best friend looked at me and she was like, "You should do stand-up comedy." And it was a light bulb moment for me, that is what I want to do, because nothing made me happier than telling people stories and making them laugh. And comedy's kind of evolved for me to this point where, you know, there's not a lot of female comics. There's not a lot of big female comics, and being a big girl is a different kind of life. And I love the moments when big girls come up to me after I'm on stage, and they tell me stuff like, "You made me feel so good," or "Thank you for making me laugh." Like, I can tell that they, in that moment, felt like they weren't alone. And you can be very lonely when you're a big girl and you grow up bullied and you go through all the that our society puts you through your whole life. It's like being a nerd, or it's like having any kind of thing that, you know, society just puts you in this place where you're not good enough. And part of my goal now is to make people see that just because you don't fit into somebody's mold doesn't mean that you're not good enough.
Be proud. I don't understand why fat girls don't want to admit they're fat. They want to say stuff like, "I'm thick." No, baby, a milkshake is thick.
When I'm not doing comedy, I spend a lot of time writing. I've written 3 novels that I immediately deleted and emptied my recycle bin because I hated them. One of the symptoms, I think, of being a comic is you're never satisfied with your work. I'm working on my 4th one right now, and I'm actually playing with the idea of maybe publishing it. I really love to write a lot. I spend a lot of time writing comedy. I spend a lot of time watching movies. I love movies. One of my dreams would be to do Punch Up. I would love to do Punch Up for movies. And I spend a lot of time with my boyfriend. Love karaoke. Karaoke is one of my favorite things. I actually was doing karaoke last night. It's one of my favorite things to do. Super dorky, super fun, but it just, you always have a good time when you're doing karaoke, no matter what.
It's not like you woke up one morning and were like, "What? What happened to my swimmer's body?" No, you got there one forkful at a time like the rest of us. Be proud. That was hard work.
Yeah, I love romantic comedies, so that's the genre I write my novels in, and I would love for that to eventually turn into maybe a screenwriting career of doing that. totally girly, I know. It's like really lame, but it's what I love.
You don't get to be better than me. You buy your pants at the end of the rack just like I do.
My style of comedy is definitely dirty. I don't try to write dirty, it's just I tend to be in that vein. If you hang out with my family, it would make a lot of sense. My family, when we hang out, we sit in a room and we just talk and laugh, and every story is something like hilarious or edgy or, you know, and we have a joke in our family that every conversation turns into poop. Because somehow the conversation always evolves into poop stories. So that's just the vein of comedy that I love. And I love that kind of comedy, you know, like Sam Kinison and Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. And I like somebody who's not afraid to say the things that people don't like to talk about at the dinner table. Because I've never had a filter, so I've spent my entire life embarrassing myself saying things and having people like lean over and whisper and being like, maybe not the place to talk about that. And me being like, oh, I didn't know, you know? So comedy is a place for me to just be myself. And I spent a lot of years of my life being crazy and single, and I said yes to a lot of things, and so I have a lot of really funny stories and stuff that happened to me that's funny, and it tends to be dirty. I live in Vegas.
Skinny girls, don't feel bad. It's not your fault that, like, look how beautiful and hot you are. You're so hot. Like, you probably, like, you don't have a bra on right now. I can't not wear a bra.
All of my material is actually based in real life. My jokes usually evolve, I've found, two ways. Either I think of a funny story or I tell a funny story to someone and they laugh, and then I'll write that down. Or I don't like try bits on people, but that's just kind of how I talk, is I kind of talk instead of punchline. So if I say something to someone and they laugh, I pick out my phone and I write it down and I try it on stage next week and see if it works as part of my set, and it just kind of comes as natural to me. I never really sit down and just write unless I know there's something that I need to like really knock out or punch up or work on the setup of it or work on the structure of it. I really get most of my material just from talking to people. I hang out with different people all the time. I love to just sit on the couch and talk and drink a bottle of wine and laugh. So that's where most of my material comes from.
I don't give a like, if you're fat, just be fat. Like, she's hot, she be's hot. She like, she's all over this guy. That's not a comfortable sitting position. You look like you're getting ready to spar in an MMA gym, like. But she's so hot, she's like, look how cute I look, just like this, I don't care.
Like I said, it's just kind of how I talk instead of punchline. So I'll usually give myself a couple notes, like this is what I want to talk about, and I'll maybe jot down a couple tags I thought of or punchlines, and then I just go on stage and I tell the story. And whatever comes out naturally, I think about that afterwards, and then next time I tweak it, and I keep doing that until it gets to the rhythm and the pace and the way that I want it to sound.
You're cute, though. You're hot. Your life was probably better than mine in a lot of ways. Probably better than mine in a ton of ways. Skinny girls have great things that happen to them. You can do shit that I can't do. You can get away with shit that I can't get away with. Like, sit on a dude's lap. Oh.
I hate listening to myself, which is weird because I can watch myself on camera. I can watch myself do a video of a set. But just listening to my voice is hard for me. But I need to, because there's been plenty of times where I've been good about it, writing down stuff, because a lot of my jokes come out of crowd work and something will happen and I'll turn that into a joke or part of my set. So the thing is with crowd work is if you don't remember to write it down afterwards, you might not remember it next time. So that is on my list of things to do. I just have to get the cojones to actually start recording myself, which I don't have right now.
I was in the McDonald's drive-thru. It's not the funny part, but thank you for laughing at that.
I feel pretty confident in my singing voice. I find my talking voice to be, because I'm like you, all my friends were dudes growing up. I have a close-knit group of girlfriends and it's very small. I could count on one hand how many girlfriends I'm really close with. I'm really close with a lot of dudes, so I tend to talk in like a lower register. I kind of have like, it sounds manly to me. I don't sound girly or feminine at all. Like I say dude a lot and bro and fist bump people, like, so it just kind of doesn't vibe with like, I'm like, I want to be a woman, but then really I'm just like a 16-year-old boy on the inside.
I was in the McDonald's drive-thru and I was real hungry, so I slammed into the car in front of me. This is a true story. I fucked up this dude's car. I fucked up his Honda Civic. And he starts to get out of his car and come around to my window, and I start to panic because I'm a comedian. I don't have insurance. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I just rolled down the window and said the first thing that came to mind. I was like, did you hear the McRib is back?
I don't get nervous anymore. I think I kind of had an advantage because before I started doing comedy, I had been on stage for 10 years doing musical theater, which if you can get on stage and dance and do barrel rolls and tap dance in a corset and sing in front of all your kids in your high school, like, it doesn't get much more embarrassing than that. So I don't really have stage fright anymore. I mean, and I participated in choir. We sang the national anthem at San Francisco Giants games. Like, I don't get stage fright. The only time I get stage fright is when the crowd is small. Small crowds give me stage fright because it's much more intimate. You can see everybody. But when I perform in front of like 200 people, 300 people, I'm like, no problem, because you don't feel as connected to them individually. But for instance, when I perform at LA Comedy Club, it's a very intimate room. There's times when I can feel myself, getting a little bit of stage fright beforehand. Nothing that a couple beers won't fix, but it's more of like a happy stage fright now, like an anxiety. I can't wait to get up there and see what my set's gonna go like.
He just backed away. He was like, this bitch is hungry. I don't think that's covered under my deductible. I gotta go.
That's one of my favorite things about comedy is the anticipation of going to the show. How many people are gonna be in the crowd? Who's gonna be there? How much time am I doing? Is my set gonna go well? All that anticipation I love. It's like this great adrenaline rush. And about every month, I find a new group of songs that I just listen to on repeat before I go on stage, and it kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like a Pavlovian response that it gets me in this like comedian mode. And it's never like any good songs. Like right now I'm listening to DNCE, Cake by the Ocean. That's one of my pre-show songs. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just something that makes me feel good and like in a happy place before I go on stage.
But I got one more one-up on you, but I'm just gonna keep one-upping you because you're everything that's my nightmare. Just if I see my boyfriend talking to a girl like that in a store, I'm like, oh, this bitch. Because I have a nerdy white boyfriend, and you know how they are with Asians. She knows. She has a lot of guys in like Zelda shirts just staring at her from across the Starbucks. Just breathing heavily into their mochaccino.
When I have an off night, I'm not satisfied with it just as much as I'm not satisfied when I have a good night. And does it feel good to have a good set? Of course, but I'm never satisfied with my set, and if I knew the answer to that, I probably wouldn't be doing comedy. It's an unending chase of the best set of your life. And a comic gave me some advice early on in my career, and it's always stuck with me. I've had a few people give me some really great little quips that run through my head a lot, and I tell myself a lot. And one of them was, take comfort in the fact that your best set of your life is ahead of you, and your worst set of your life is ahead of you. So even if you just had the worst set of your life, it's not the worst one. It's always gonna get worse. And that's comforting in this weird way to know that even though I might have just bombed, I'm gonna bomb again, and it's probably gonna be worse. But I'm also gonna have a set that was way better. So, I mean, you just kind of have to accept it. I didn't have a great set last night, and at E Strings, and there weren't very many comics, so I got to do a long set, and they were chuckling, but they were a quiet crowd, and I wasn't getting to a couple of them, and that's my job as a comic. I hit every point I could, and my thing was just not for them, and they weren't with me on it at all. And so afterwards I got drunk and sang karaoke. I mean, you just gotta do something to make yourself feel better, because if you spend all your time thinking about how you messed up, I don't think you're ever gonna do better. For me at least, I have to think about the positive end of it. Here's what went well, here's how I can make it better.
I got the bumper sticker and everything to prove it. Prisoner of war. 92.
E Strings is probably in the top 3 open mics in town. There's a crowd there every Sunday. Every Sunday there's at least 6 or 7 people. I mean, there was only 5 comics on the list last night, and there were 15 audience members. So, I mean, it was great. There's usually a crowd there. They sit there for the comedy. The room is separated from the bar, so you don't have to compete with the gambling or the DJ or the noise. and it's closed off, and it's an actual stage with I love that room. I've had some of my favorite times in that room.
Just because I'm fat, I can go on the internet right now and make $1,000 a minute just eating cake as fast as I can.
Probably the worst show that I ever did was with Tyler Jolly. We travel a lot together. We're pretty tight, so we do a lot of traveling and out-of-town shows together. And the worst show I ever did was with him, I think, and we were broke. So we had pooled all of our quarters together to buy a gallon of vodka, so we would have drinks for the rest of because we had like 4 or 5 shows in a row in Phoenix. And we knew we weren't going to be able to afford drinks, and we knew that 4 of the 5 shows weren't giving us drink tabs. So the true alcoholics we are, we're like, we go to Albertsons and we pull out our quarters and we buy a gallon of vodka. And we didn't drink before this show, but we're getting all excited for the show, and we're talking, and then we walk in, there's like 2 people there. It's fine, I mean, it happens. You gotta perform for 2 people sometimes. But then the one guy was this drunk redneck, and he kept trying to get on stage, and he was being unruly, and the host was introducing us with stuff like, I don't know who these people are, but coming up next, I'm like, oh, thank you, great introduction. So it was just like none of the cogs were in peace, and I find that the worst shows ever are usually just those for me. When there's, I have a lot of appreciation for hosts that, you know, I can handle a heckler just fine, but if there's somebody who's so unruly that they're not even gonna listen to you and they're trying to get on stage, you know, whenever I host shows, I get them out. I just get them out of the room, you know. One of the things I love working for Matt and Joaquin is that when I'm there, if there's somebody there not doing, you know, not being a good audience member, Kelly gets them out. You know, people paid money to see the show. They should be able to see the show. Not that I expected, you know, anybody to do anything, but, you know, the host was just standing there and this guy was trying to get on stage and cussing us out, and it was ridiculous from front to back. And then I had another show which the set was great, but actually 3 of the 4 times I've traveled to Phoenix, someone has tried to fist fight me. The first time I had an awesome set, really good. I actually got like my first like half standing ovation there, and afterwards I was on the back porch smoking. I was exhausted. We've been driving all day, so I was just sitting down smoking a cigarette. I just wanted to be quiet. People were coming up and saying hi and taking pictures, and I don't mind doing all that, and you know, asking me questions and hanging out and high-fiving me or whatever. And then all of a sudden I see this girl who turned out to be a comic. She was, you know, a thick girl, but, you know, nowhere near as big as me. She comes bolting through the crowd, and she puts her finger in my face, and she goes, you give big girls a bad name, and all this stuff, and she's just losing her mind about my fat girl jokes. And I don't respond to that. I don't respond to people pouting. I don't respond to people being aggressive. I don't respond. There's no point. So I was just sitting there smoking, letting her yell at me. I was like, are you done? How about now? You done now? And eventually it got to the point where Angie was there with me, and Angie stepped in between us and you know, stopped it from happening, from escalating any worse. And I've never seen the girl since, but that was another terrible night because I had to spend 35 minutes listening to a girl tell me how I give fat girls a bad name.
Then you have to go on dates and do that. I go on double dates with my skinny girlfriends all the time, and the way they order food is ridiculous. Skinny girls order food, and like I order food and I'm like, everything he's willing to pay for. What is his credit limit? Just the whole menu.
Yeah, Angie was a really big mentor to me when I first started. She did a lot of great stuff for me. I'll forever have love for her for that. Angie knew I wanted to do comedy. So she texted me, this was back when she had meatheads on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I think it was the Thursday morning. She texted me at like 9 in the morning. She said, do you want to go out tonight? And I was like, I don't know, what should I do? And I asked my boyfriend at the time, and he was like, you should just do it, who cares? So I said, yeah, and which was awful because then I knew for like 12 hours before I was going on stage that I was going, so I was the most nervous wreck ever. But yeah, she got me my start doing that 4 years ago, and it popped up in my timeline because I posted a status when I arrived at Meatheads that said, guess I'm gonna try comedy tonight. And it's crazy to me because I was so aloof about it, but the minute I got off stage, I could not wait to do it again.
When a skinny girl orders food, she's worried about like what the guy thinks of her. So she like opens the menu and she's like, I don't know. Not even hungry. I had an almond for lunch, so, you know, I'm full. So maybe just a salad. I'll just have it the salad, please. Oh, you know what? I had a grape too, so if you could just bring me the carrots from the salad, that'd be great. No, you know what? I'm bloated, So if you could just come up to me and whisper the word carrot into my mouth, that'd be great.
I I got some laughs, so it was actually pretty good for a first time, but I don't like my body language. My arms are like this a lot. I look down a lot. I just look very like a scared squirrel or something, that makes me cringe a little bit, is my body language, because I remember how I had to go to the bathroom like 7 times that day. I didn't even eat that much, but I literally I took like 30 minutes before in the bathroom in Meatheads, and God knows if you're gonna take a dump at Meatheads, you're desperate. And I had to, because my body was just like evacuating everything. Like my heart was pounding, I was sweating, I was so nervous. I couldn't even see straight. I don't even remember what I talked about. The only reason I know now is because of the video. And then it was over, and it was just so scary I remember that feeling, and I never want to feel like that again, because that's not how I want the audience to feel, I want women in the audience, and men even, I want men to look at me and go, well, if she can love herself, I can, Yeah. And I definitely it's just awkward. And I have a Thundercats t-shirt on. It's awful.
That's not me. When I'm on a date with a guy, he knows what to expect. He brings his Black American Express. He could be halfway through his rings, halfway through his chicken wings, I could burp in his face. But you gonna finish those?
But it's fine. I'm not ashamed of it at all. I'm not ashamed of any set, of anything I've ever done, because every set I've ever done has got me to where I've been today. And I've been really fortunate to have some really great dudes like, Freddie Correa and Brandon Guchon and Matt Markman. And I could go on and on about all these guys and girls, Angie included, that have done some amazing things for me and vouched for me and given me chances that I, by rights, never should have gotten for how long I've been doing it. And so I think that, it's disrespectful to all those people that brought you up from that place to pretend like that place never happened.
I gotta get out of here. But before I do, I just gotta get real serious for a second. I make a lot of jokes about being fat. I'm fine with it. But it's because I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm a food addict. I understand how calories work, guys. I'm not like, what? You can't eat 6 quesadillas and then take a nap and be fine? No, I know how calories work. I'm a food addict, which is the hardest thing in the world to be addicted to. It's everywhere. You have to eat it. You have to need it to survive. And it's all accessible. But people don't believe it. Like, a girl just laughed. She was like, she's addicted to food? Yeah, that's real.
Jason Harris actually saw me do it one day at LA Comedy Club. I was featuring for Landry one week, and I just couldn't get them. They weren't with me on anything. I'd hit them with a clean joke, and they wouldn't laugh. So I'd hit them with a dirty joke, and they'd laugh. And then I'd hit them with another dirty joke, and they wouldn't. And I hit them with a clean joke, and they'd laugh. And it was just this back and forth where I couldn't find what page they wanted me to be on. And I didn't have strong enough clean material to like just do clean and own it. And so, I did the thing that is my rule, which is I lost my confidence. And once the audience feels that, they're gone. So as soon as I got off stage, I just sat in a booth in the back of the club and just pulled up my phone and started writing. And it just makes me feel better. It makes me, I'm the kind of person that I don't like to sit around and feel bad a lot. I like to take action on things. And if something is actionable, if you have a bad set, you can sit down and write new jokes right there. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. So I sat down and tried to write new clean jokes. And that just makes me feel better, Makes me feel better because it makes me know that isn't my be-all end-all. That set doesn't define me as a comic, nor does it define my ability to write. I can always write more and I can always write better.
It's a real thing and people don't believe it. And I'm gonna tell you a story that proves that food addiction is real. I went out to eat with my girlfriends and I got a plate of chicken wings. Full plate. I got halfway through that plate of chicken wings before I realized the chicken was still raw. Yeah, did you hear what I said, sir? I ate half a plate of raw chicken. I didn't bite into one and spit it out like a human being. I just plowed through half a plate of raw chicken like a wood chipper.